What is up, guys? This is OTG here with our first YouTube video of many. Today's topic of discussion will be Tesla stock. We'll be discussing the short-term and long-term outlook on Tesla and what we think Tesla will be doing next. So we do have some several interesting developments on Tesla that I would love to share with you all. So let's just hop right on in, right? So pull on up here, we have Tesla on the daily time frame. And off the bat, you may notice I have a range, right? I have these upper and lower limits, and makes things a lot easier on the eye, makes it easier to distinguish where most of your price action is taking place. So on the levels here, you can see about $100 is our lower limit, and around $300 is our upper limit. So again, you can kind of see this is where mostly our bounces and rejections have taken place over the past couple of years. So very, very key levels. With that in mind, we also have a bullish Gartley on the chart, which is this harmonic here. If you're unfamiliar with harmonic patterns, I would definitely recommend to take a look at Scott Carney, which is pretty much the founding father of harmonics. They can be a wonderful resource, wonderful tool on trading, and when you have multiple things lining up with harmonics, can be very, very powerful. Now, with that being said, on the Gartley here, zooming on in a bit. Now, typically with a harmonic, you like to see a type 2 return before really, getting your full position in. So what that means is, let me go ahead and pull up my line chart here. So typically here, we'll just kind of recap, taking a step back. At that D point, pretty much lined up exactly with our Tesla's earnings and have had a very substantial move since that initial that earnings release, right? So pretty much about 30% up, which isn't the most optimal time frame or optimal risk to reward to be entering at, but doesn't mean that you still can't use this for educational purposes or get a plan in place to eventually acquire acquire position. So as far as the Type 2 return goes, this is what you typically like to see as pretty much the most optimal entry. So we have two lower gaps here around 172 and 146. What you would like to see is a retest and fill of these gaps, retesting that D point here, that level, basically meaning that buyers are stepping in and holding up the pricing, right? The price. So you want to see something like that, where again we get those gap fills, flip those into support, and then we make our second move higher, which is the type 2 return. On type 2 returns typically is where you'll see that larger move. So very interesting here on that Gartley. Now, something I also wanted to discuss is a short-term trade that we recently had on Tesla as well. And I would love to get a little indicator here on that $180 mark, which pretty much where the price is currently. As you can see, we've have had some levels or some price action correlate to this level here. So when we zoom into the 15-minute, we can kind of see our most recent trade on Tesla, some options. We traded here the $180 strike for May 6th, and we traded this on the 2nd and 3rd. So let me go ahead and pull up the options chart as well. You can see here entry, and then here is exit. So we had a 50% move on this, which is pretty phenomenal within about a day or so. So really good move, very straightforward trade. Now every trade is not going to be this cut and dry, right? But definitely can be used as a educational source. So let's kind of discuss that trade, the thought process as well. So we had these two pin bars here on the 15-minute time frame. Pin bars are typically bullish candlesticks. As you can see, buyers are stepping in here, not allowing the sellers to take over that level, right? Buyers were stepping in, purchasing stock, holding up that price. And then once we got those two pin bars, relatively neutral candle, and then we did have a move immediately following that candle. So I was able to um, acquire some options here right on that big influx of buys. And that actually took us above the VWAP as well, which is that purple line you see on my chart, which is the volume weighted average price, which is a very helpful indicator for day trades, options traders, things alike. Now, this move was actually really straightforward. Typically you won't see a move this easy, but again, still something that you can learn from, right? So we had to break that break above VWAP, held that VWAP, and then pretty much made a straight move up to the upper portion of our wedge. I got it a bit early. I typically like to leave some room for the upside, which means like I won't have my target exactly at the wedge just to avoid, not getting filled. So I got it out around 667. So, pretty much, on the way down a little bit here, but it was just still secure about 50% on that trade, which was pretty phenomenal for short-term options trade. But yeah, so still you're very at a very interesting level here. You're still testing that upper, um, trend line on the wedge. So very, very, very interesting. Very, I would totally recommend it to continue to keep an eye here on Tesla. Very interesting developments. Again, ideally, you like to see these gaps fill and then kind of reacquire maybe some shares at that lower limit, preparing for that second move. So yeah, that's pretty much it here on Tesla. Just kind of wanted to discuss my long-term outlook as well as the short-term trade that we recently had. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And yeah, hopefully this helps. And yeah, please like and subscribe. And again, feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm more than happy to help out. Thanks a lot.